Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome to the AV Experience, episode number 102. Hard to believe we've crossed that 100 mark. So good to have you guys. Hope you're having a great weekend. We're going to be hanging out tonight, probably a little bit shorter time. We're not going to do the 3-hour marathon, so we'll keep it relatively short. But if you guys got questions, comments, especially regarding home theater, drop those in the chat, and we'll be glad to answer those throughout the night. So we're gonna have some fun here tonight. I don't know what my little Echo Dot, she's trying to tell me something. Maybe I was too loud, too excited. She can't handle it. I don't know. Who knows, man? So we're gonna have a great time tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. We'll say hi to some folks in the chat, but first, big thanks to our sponsor, Ascend AV. This dude, oh crap, it's backwards. You're usually on the other side. I went that way. So appreciate Ryan and Ascend AV. If you guys have home theater needs, definitely hit them up on probably the best way to hit you up is email.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It doesn't matter. I mean, texting, phone call, email.
Man,
I'll get back
MySpace, it doesn't matter.
MySpace.
So you hit him up. But we got links.
Is MySpace even around anymore?
Let's figure it out. I don't know. That's a good question.
There's like Snapchat and all that other newfangled stuff, man. So
wow, MySpace, it does come up. It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
We should create a
MWAVE on MySpace.
AV Experience MWAVE page.
You know what
get like all the moving seizure graphics and stuff, so we can really recreate the optimal experience.
So in the social media world, you know, if TikTok does get banned in the US, there's been talks that Elon is going to bring back up Vine, which is kind of like the pre-TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be interesting.
That was Google, wasn't it? They bought Vine. Who bought Vine?
They mentioned Elon, so I'm assuming he.
No. Somebody bought it a long time ago.
I don't know.
Did Facebook buy Vine? Somebody did.
Bought Vine? Twitter, it says. Vine was founded by
Elon owns Twitter.
By Twitter in October 20. No, before Elon.
Well before Elon.
October 2012.
But
then that would have been part of the deal, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. My son will be disappointed because he's all about TikTok.
When I got that news, I immediately thought of your son. That was the first thing that I thought about.
He's loving it, man. He got another, I guess, an invite to VidCon. So he's like, Dad,
what is VidCon?
It's kind of like, I guess, all the content creators coming together for like all the video content creators. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like Vid Summit. So
what is Vid Summit?
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
So
you keep naming these things that I don't know what they are.
True. So it's Vid Summit is Daryl Eves. He's partnered with Mr. Beast, Sean Duras, and they put together a convention every year that content creators come. They learn how to be a better content creator, learn strategies from people that have done really, really well on social media. So I think VidCon is sounds like a Mario Party. Could be. But he's super pumped, man, just to be able to be invited to these events and get the invitation. And he told me when he first started off, he's like, Dad, I don't even care about the money. I just want access. Like, I want to do the cool stuff that I see these other content creators that I've been following for years. I want to be able to go to those cool things. Like, I want to go to the Sony event. I want to go to the Bethesda Studios event, you know, and have access to those early games and make content on that. And he's getting to do that. And so
Does he enjoy the events?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Heck yeah. So he loves it, man. Like I said, he likes to travel. The hard part is he was where I was, in 2020. So, you know, you're working a full-time job. You're, in his case, he's even got a young son that was, you know, he's only Roman's 18 months now. Yeah. Something about a little bit over a year old. So he's got a young son. He's got a relatively new, marriage, a couple years old, 4 years old. So, but yeah, man. Yeah. Siphonics Audio says opportunity is what I love the most about getting anywhere with sharing media. Absolutely, man. It's the coolest thing just to be able to be a part of the community. And so he's loving it, loving it. So he says VidCon is where digital culture takes center stage as the world's leading digital creators, platform innovators, and their fans converge in one place. Yeah. So more than likely, like, you can meet some of your favorite fans there or some of your favorite creators. So probably open to both. His son looks like a mini Youthman, maybe, but with a mustache. You know, Jessica almost didn't date me because I had a mustache. True story, man. She hated the mustache. And even when we got married, I still had it. But I made up to it. Made it up to her by singing to her during our wedding.
Man, that's a
Did she
bold
say
move.
that
In
did
your
she
own
say that
wedding.
made it up for her?
What's that?
Did she say that made it up for her?
No, I'm saying it.
Oh, so that was your interpretation of it. I see. We
That's
should
right,
ask
man.
her. You should go ask her.
She's out walking. When she comes in, I'll ask. I'll get her to pop on.
Mm-hmm.
Say, Jessica. But I used to sing to her a lot. Yeah.
She's probably thinking in the back of her head, please make this stop. I'll deal with the mustache. Please make it stop.
Nah.
I want to see a picture of you with a mustache. You got a picture?
Man, I probably do.
Like
Was
his
your hair always that
MySpace
platinum
profile.
color? Like, what
What's
color
that?
was your hair when you were younger? Has it always been kind of
Brown.
that platinum color?
No, it's brown.
So you had a
Yeah.
big brown, like 70s stash, or what'd you have?
Yeah, it was kind of a thick deal. Yeah, it didn't look great. I've got a picture of me and my son when he was real little. And he's like laying on me, and that's probably the best one because I'm wearing a hat. I'm asleep. He's asleep. Got this big old stash. Just want to see if it's in this main group of photos right here real quick. See if I got anything for you. Oh, that is terrible. No, I can't show that. That was awful.
It's worse than he remembers.
Yeah, that's rough, man. Where's the one? I want to see if I got the other one.
You know it's bad when you say that about yourself.
I'm like, man, that's hideous.
I'm just imagining Youthman with like a Burt Reynolds mustache. I gotta see it.
That's Naomi Grace. I know I've got one here. I'm just looking through. Man,
So I've had some sort of facial hair since I was, I don't know, 20 or so, and my kids had never seen me without a beard or mustache. And one time, just for kicks, I shaved it off like over Christmas break or something, and they hated it. Like, they refused to even look at me. Like, you got to put it back immediately. This is not acceptable.
It's hard when you've gone so long, and then it's like, all right, here we go. Now this will work. You guys aren't ready for this. You can't handle this. All right, here we go. What did I get myself into? All right, here we go. Y'all ready?
We're ready. You're talking this up awful lot.
Ah,
There it is.
Oh, man.
Glory. I told you.
Shaved head, too.
Yeah, I've always had the shaved head because my hair just goes goofy, crazy, man. I mean, I went to so I cut my own hair just because it's easy for a long, long time, 25 years probably plus. And I would go to, looks like he's about to snitch. But I went to a barbershop, beautician, whatever. And I'm like, hey, I want something different. I kind of let it grow out, kind of like Jonathan. That's why he's not revealing his little hairdo there. So mine was kind of like that. It was going crazy. And I said, hey, I just want a new style. So she starts cutting it. She gets it kind of zoom in more. Man, that's all you get, man. That little 720p photo. His Youthman, no. I don't have any kind of that stuff. So he or she starts cutting it and she trims it up. And at the end, she's like, nah, we can't do anything with this. Seriously. Because it's just a wreck, man. The back starts getting like wavy, curly.
Oh my God. I don't know what I would do if a barber was cutting my hair and just started doing things and just went, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Legit. That's what she told me. She was like, I don't have anything for you, bro.
Oh,
like,
no.
Bad when, you know, they can't offer anything. I was trying to see if I could find one more for you. And it's funny because my son, looking at him, he looks just like I did when I was a little boy. He's a mess. Well, anyway, enough intros. That's fun. Oh, mercy. All right. Let me say hi to some folks here and we'll get on to some questions. If you got your questions, drop them in the chat. Who we got here? Tyler, good to see you, man. Bruce, Chris, and Andrew, Curtis. Lots of folks. Wrath, good to see you, man. TN Bills fan. Siphonics Audio. What is going up, everybody? Ashvin. Lots of folks in the chat. Cool, man. All right, let's jump into it. Let's have some fun. So we already got some questions coming in here. Bruce, appreciate that. I'll put this up first. Appreciate the $2 super chat. First question of the night. What is the purpose of rear center channel speaker? And how do you hook it up for a surround sound system? Very cool question. You don't see too many home theaters with a center surround in the rear. I remember when oh man, what format was it? When it went to, I don't think it was it Dolby Digital X? Is that such a thing? What was it?
DTS had the 6.1 that I know of.
Yeah, it was like
It was
one in the
DTS
center.
ES, I think it was.
Maybe that's something. DTS X or something like that.
DTS ES. Let me see if I'm remembering that right.
It wasn't DTS X because
It's
that's
ES.
it would've been
6.1 is
old.
ES.
Okay, ES. Okay, so it wasn't X. There you go. Yeah, they're saying ES in the chat. So I remember that. But what about modern ones like a Dolby Atmos, Aural 3D? Did they utilize any kind of center channel with surrounds? So we're just talking about
The
replacing
rears?
two with one. Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Now, if you
Yeah,
had an
so-
object-based thing like a Storm or Trinoff, you could
The
probably
Storm
position it
won't
there.
do it. Trinov can,
They can do a rear center.
but it's not supported in the codecs anymore
Mm-hmm.
that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
I thought it was in the spec, but it's because I thought it supported like 24 speakers around you, but I can't remember if one of them was centered.
Not that I'm aware of.
I just don't see. So think about this: your ears are facing forward. I don't think your brain would know like a smooth transition from, say surround right to surround center to surround left. I think it can do just as good of a job with the surround right, surround left. So to me, where that typically would have come into play is before we had stereo surrounds, they introduced this single surround in the middle, and it was kind of matrix. It would take that and bring it together. And that was good for people that, for whatever reason, they didn't have the ability to put two speakers back there. So
Siphonics says a lot of AVRs still ask if you're using one or two. Does
interesting.
Marantz ask if you're using one or two rear surrounds?
I've seen that before. Let me open up the Odyssey app and see if it still does. I don't know off the top of my head. I should know that, but I don't.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Create new.
He says it only ever plays object-based sounds. Shane Lee has a center surround, I think. Interesting. Holy crap. Just realized Dolby Digital EX turns 25 next month. Yeah. With a Phantom Menace. Yeah. Dolby Digital EX with Matrix, the rear surround. DTS EX was all discrete channels.
You know what?
Okay.
Even
Andrew says
modern,
it does
even
on
the modern stuff has it.
CT12.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose. I don't know if that'll show up or not. Can I get it in close enough?
Let me see. Hang on a second. Let me make it big here. There you go.
Focus.
Perfect. Yeah, we can see it.
It says surround. It's backwards, but I can switch it between one channel and no channels and two channels. Sorry, it's not very readable. But it's they're even on the modern stuff. So there's one speaker.
Okay.
There's off. There's two speakers for surround back.
So it
Learn
is
something new.
We're seeing it correctly, Jonathan. Just to let you know, it's
But
mirrored.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Get me off there.
You can go with two speakers. Go with that. But that's cool. That it's definitely look at there, man.
Well, so let's talk about this. I mean, this is a thought exercise. I don't know if I've considered this, but if you got an Atmos setup and the object's going around the room and your receiver knows that that's in the surround back middle, the object shouldn't care. It'll play there, right?
Yeah.
It won't be part of the pressed 7.1 field, but any object should go through that middle. And then whatever your receiver's doing for matrixing, is that how that would work for the bed layer? Like traditional surround backs, now there's one, it's compressing them both.
Take both of those and bring them together.
Yeah, I haven't really read anything on that. I haven't seen anyone use that setup really for years and years and years.
I've been into some customers' houses that have had that from when that was more prevalent, but nothing recently.
I could see it. I mean, think about it. We've all got really different and unique layouts. And so if your room isn't conducive to having 2 rear speakers for whatever reason, maybe you got a pole in the middle behind your seats or something, like a pillar, like kind of like you've got in your room. You want to mount it to that, at least to get something back there. It can work maybe, but I would do 2 if you
I remember I still have it. My Lord of the Rings disc set is 6.1 from DTS, that DTS ES. So there's discs floating around that have that. I mean, maybe not new ones, but certainly there was that for real at a time.
It's not really necessary. I mean, you can just image the speakers or an object using 2 speakers to sound like it's coming from the middle.
Cool, man. Fencer says, for the LCR, how important is a 3-way design as opposed to a 2-way? He's comparing JTR 210 HTs versus the 210 RM RTs and a Power Sound Audio 210 versus 212. Man, that's a lot of comparisons, bro. So the biggest question is, how important for your front 3 speakers, 2-way versus 3-way design?
I mean, you get away from any issues that a 2-way may create, but I think that's a big part of that is audibly blown out of proportion. I think it's there, but I don't think it's necessarily as bad as people make it out to be. A 2-way versus a 3-way.
So Rusty, you have LCR up front, right?
I do.
2-way or 3-way?
212 RTs. I thought they were 2-way. I'm not sure how they're wired internally because there's 2 woofers and then the tweeter.
I'm guessing that's probably a 2-way.
I think it's 2-way.
ATR speaker. I'll see. Jonathan, yours 2-way or 3-way?
Mine are 2-way. I only have 2 drivers. When you have 3-way, you usually have like 3 different bandwidths of stuff going to different components. So your woofer's getting 1, your mid-range is getting 1, and your tweeter's getting 1. JTR makes both.
I was wrong. 212 RTs are a 3-way floor standing loudspeaker.
Yeah, they make their HTR was the old name for 3-way, and then HT was their 2-way for JTR, and then they released those reference towers, the RT. I think those are all 3-way.
Would he do the 2 with the coaxial driver, and then the 2 woofers would be like the 3rd?
No, I thought he did it with the coaxial and the speaker behind it, I thought. And then your subs are.
So, I mean, is that like 1 frequency range?
They get 2.
No, it's 2.
So the 2 is just like the
2 would be that
horn part.
And then
the 3rd is the woofers.
Yes.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
The pair of woofers is the 3rd.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Both woofers get the same. Yes.
I just didn't know if you could do the 2-way with a coaxial driver. So I guess you would
there's
have to.
Technical benefits, but I don't.
Yeah, you would actually, now the thing, right? You would have to, because they're 2 separate speakers.
You have a single driver covering less bandwidth. Like typically with a 2-way, your tweeters handle 1800 hertz ish, 2000 hertz ish, 2200, that range and above, and your woofer handles everything below. But if you got a 3-way, the woofers handle up to like 350 hertz, that type of range, 400 hertz, that type of range, 600 hertz, that type of range, and then from 600 hertz to say 2000 hertz is the mid, and then the tweeter handles the high. So it's just making them have less frequency response that they cover. And the potential is that you would have, it's a more complicated crossover, but you potentially have less distortion because the drivers can be more targeted to a certain frequency range and be more accurate within that range.
But again, I don't think there's necessarily potentially an audible benefit. There's plenty of really good 2-way speakers. And
I think that's the same thing here. Oops, sorry, says plenty of better 2-way. I don't think 2-way or 3-way is always indicatively better than 2-way. Did I say that right? 3-way is better than 2-way. I think it just comes down to design and implementation. Now, this is interesting here. It says in Jonathan's case, 2-way versus 3-way really doesn't matter if he's running a vertical center. Well, here's the thing. In an LCR, like an actual LCR, they're all vertical. So you're running 3 identical speakers. They're not going to be turned sideways. That wouldn't necessarily be an LCR configuration. So let me back up.
You can run a center that's horizontal.
You can, but I don't refer that to as an LCR.
What do you refer
to? Left, center, right.
When I think
left,
of
center, right.
I know, but when I think of an LCR, it's like identical because everybody's got an LCR.
Exactly.
I don't know. All right, well, let's have that discussion. What does LCR mean to you? To me, it means
Left,
when
center,
somebody
right.
says-
Yeah,
When
I
somebody
mean,
says LCR, I'm thinking identical for left, center, and right.
well, that's what people
Let me know-
say is that your
let me-
LCR should be identical, not that it is identical. That it
Okay.
ideally
Yeah,
should
let me
be.
know. Let me know in the chat. Give me some love, guys. Come on, support me. Rusty, what do you think? LCR. Can you have an LCR with a, say, 2 towers and a horizontal center? Is that considered an LCR? to you?
Well, I mean, technically it just stands for center, but if you said identical LCR, then I would know you mean.
All right.
I mean, that's
So then-
pretty.
so then
What was
wrong.
my
That's a
setup?
lot
What
of
was
words
my
then.
setup? What was mine then?
It wouldn't be an LCR though to me.
What was it? What do you call it?
Oh, a
It's an
normal.
L center R. You gotta say the whole word if it doesn't match.
Do they make LCR speakers?
The brand name?
What?
Or is he just playing with us here at this
No,
point?
he's asking like, do they make speakers that they call them LCR?
No, he's not asking. He says they do. I mean,
Oh,
you
you're
have
right.
the
Yeah,
you
they
have
do
the
make
Martin
LCR
Logan SLM XL3. I don't remember if that's the full model number,
I love this,
but it's
man.
technically one chassis with 3 speaker inputs.
Yeah.
But that would still be an LCR.
All right. Okay. So I'm identical. I should say identical LCR.
Yes.
That makes more sense. Okay. I get it. I'm just all in my brain when somebody says, hey, I'm running an LCR behind an acoustically transparent screen. My brain says, okay, they got 3 identical speakers, even though they never said identical.
I mean, I view what the guys are talking about as an LCR speaker. I think that more of a passive soundbar is what I
So when I think
consider
of
it
an
as.
LCR, I think of the Klipsch THX Ultra 2s. I think of the M&K speakers. Remember the square boxy ones that have like 2 drivers and, a horn on the side. You know what I'm talking about? I'll show you. I don't know what the model number is for M&K, but THX Ultra 2. Yeah. So look at this. This is kind of what I'm thinking he's talking about. Like an
Yeah, MW. This is exactly
say?
what I was thinking right here.
What'd he say? Youthman, and that's okay.
Well,
I'm okay. Here's the thing. I am 100% confident and okay with saying I was wrong. So this
I
is
was
what
curious.
I was
Michael? What would you call Jonathan's setup since it's identical everything? Do you just
but he has an LCR though. They're identical left,
do you
center,
just
and
like
right.
keep going?
You have to go
around
through.
the whole
You have to
room?
go through and name every
like all 15
abbreviated
channels.
speaker location.
Yeah. So to
it's
me,
like
this
this
would be like
huge
an
acronym.
LCR. So these are identical. speakers.
SLLCRSR.
I love it. Yeah, he says triad. What do you call it?
What are we talking about here?
What's that?
Well, I'm why do we have this picture on the screen?
So Chuck Big says some brands make what they call an LCR. So this would be an LCR here.
But they're not technically the same.
Not technically, because they are inverted on one of those.
They can't be LCRs then. They're not the same. They're not identical. This doesn't work.
There you go. There was somebody else that mentioned.
Where's the little TV display not found? The little thing that will pop up with the color bars and everything. Starting all over.
All right. Somebody said Paradigm LCR. Let me tell. Okay. So Paradigm makes an LCR. Let's see what they classify as an LCR.
This is
I think Youthman's holding out hope that he's going to be right. So they call this an XL.
Those are just passive soundbars.
Yeah. Not these though.
Yeah.
Like what is this right here? That ain't.
Well, that's not. But the other ones that you just went, not these, is you drug your cursor across it. Those are passive soundbars.
I was just scrolling down, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're looking for the Paradigm Founder 70. Paradigm Founder. Man, I cannot spell 70 L. Oh, here we go. Here we go. They're gonna run. Okay, you can run it vertical or horizontal. Where's a picture of all of them? They don't really have a. Be nice if they showed a.
So is that just considered an LCR because it can act at any position?
Maybe. I don't know.
Moving on.
I thought it was fun. All right, I was wrong. My apologies. I learned something new today. Hey, that's the cool thing about life, man. If you aren't learning, you're not living.
I don't think
The
you
wrath-
were wrong.
wait,
It was
hang
just
on.
what you considered was different.
Hey, Jessica, come here. We have a question on the live stream for you.
Michael has a question.
All right, come here. Come here, babe. Have a seat.
No, I can't see.
Remember, you don't have to yell. They can-
Oh, okay.
All right, so what was the question? Remind
What
me.
did you think of Michael's mustache? And
Wait,
did his
what?
sing? Hold on.
And his
What did
singing.
you think of Michael's mustache when you guys met? And did his singing compensate for him having a mustache?
Oh. I didn't like his mustache. That's why I didn't want to date him.
That's all, I was truthful.
Because I was a high schooler, so a high schooler with somebody with a mustache. It was kind of funny. But his singing, he used to sing to me all the time. So I loved his singing. So it was
Okay.
great. Yeah, he would sing songs and then he would go under the chair and look up at me for real. So funny.
Gotta
But
get creative, man.
I thought you were going to ask about this subwoofer he got, but
Oh,
yeah,
No.
because it said
that was funny too. So,
it said HSU research.
And
So
what-
like,
and what'd
I
you
thought
say?
he was researching something.
she said, "What are you researching?" And that's the name of the company.
I never even heard of it, but that's all right.
Cool. They were just wondering about the mustache.
Oh yeah.
If
no.
if my singing made up for the
Oh, yeah,
mustache.
probably did.
Did he sing to you before you started dating?
No,
No,
I
not
don't
really.
think so. No, no.
Because we worked together at Ponderosa.
Yeah,
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, so I was a
Yeah.
cook. She was a cashier.
cashier. Yeah, he put a teddy bear, flowers, and stuff in the freezer, and I had to go pick it up.
In the fridge,
Yeah,
not freezer.
whatever it was.
Yeah. I asked her to go get the green beans, and in there was a set of flowers by the green beans, and she was like, "I'm dumping my boyfriend for him," and she did.
Mustache.
She
She
was a
just won't
loser.
admit that it was the mustache
Yeah, the
that sent her
mustache.
over the edge.
It was
the
horrendous. She didn't
mustache.
like that. All right, back to Wrath. Wrath says, "Do any of you have the butt kicker?" What's that?
The last thing I was going to say is maybe she won't tell you that she liked the mustache because she doesn't want you to grow another one.
No, I promise you, she does not like the mustache. Definitely does not like the mustache. Why is your question up? What do you mean, Wrath? So, do any of you have butt kicker LFEs? I was going to do a Boss platform, but don't have the space behind the sofa.
I haven't used a butt kicker LFP on my platforms. I found the Advance is good enough, but I have one. I have a friend in Kansas City, Luke. Ryan, have you been to Luke's house by chance? He has a platform. Long story short, he has a platform he has butt kickers on. He made the platform purposely like not very solid, so it'll bounce real good, and it works really well. Actually, it's a little bit too soft maybe for my taste because as you're sitting there, the whole platform like sinks in. As you get more weight on it, but
Right.
that butt kicker has like a couple pounds slug in it or something. I mean, it's a heavy slug, and that really will get that platform moving. You'll feel the bass all the way down to like, single digit hertz easily with that. It works really well.
Yeah.
But do you think you need that, or you think the Advance would be more than enough?
Well, he's doing, I can't remember if he's got one or two, but he's got like, 4 theater seats on it. So he probably needs that extra power of the butt kicker LFE. That
Mhm.
thing's 1,000-watt rated, and the Advance is only like 300 or 350-watt rated. I, off the top of my head, it's something like that. So it's quite a bit more headroom or quite a bit more power, a lot heavier slug, a lot bigger
Mhm.
units, almost twice the size.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, move on to the next topic. I'll go get a couple of them so you can see the size difference. There is quite a big difference in size between the two.
Okay.
But the butt kicker Advance is plenty strong for a single chair. I mean, like you guys have felt it at my house, and Ryan's had them in his own house. They're strong. Like you don't need more than that for a single chair. If you're trying to do a platform, or here's a good example. Randy Bessinger, one of the guys in Kansas City, he put 2 butt kicker Advances on his joists in his crawl space on his home theater room that was attached to the house, and those 2 butt kickers could really shake the whole room. Like they're pretty serious.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, he said he's got a 2-seater sofa. So he was going to do a hover easy over something like that, but thinking I'd do 2 butt kicker LFEs instead. I do have 2 clips RP 1600 SWs as well. Yeah, I think you'll be set here. What you got, Jonathan?
So here's a butt kicker LFE, and it's heavy. And this is by contrast, this is a butt kicker advance. So, I mean, this is probably almost twice the weight of the smaller butt kicker advance.
Okay.
Mounting options. Let's see if I can rotate this around right. That's how they look. So the butt kicker can't be mounted. It has to be mounted up and down.
Okay.
There's no other mounting positions. But the butt kicker advance can be mounted like here, flat flush against something.
Okay.
Or on the bottom, up and down. So you got more mounting options.
Okay. Man, love the show and tell, Jonathan. Good stuff. Curtis Parsons says, I just recently got an Onkyo RZ50. Has anybody had problems with its display issue with HDMI? I'm assuming. Sadly, it's having nothing but problems when I try to run 4K 120. I've changed settings in the receiver. So what could he be running into with 4K 120? Could that be a cable issue?
Could
it be, Curtis?
Could be a display issue. Could be.
Curtis,
what's the source?
Are you doing let us know. Are you running projector? Are you running TV?
Could even be a setting choice because there's like the 8K enhanced settings you got to put on all your devices,
right?
So that they're all synced properly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the original HDMI cables, and Ryan might have more information on this than I do, but I just know they had a batch of original cables that didn't really quite meet spec, and so like the very first HDMI 2.1 cables from different manufacturers had some issues, and so they made a second gen and a third gen and so forth along the way to kind of get that full bandwidth. That could be it too.
Yeah, like Drop Zone says, are using 48 gigahertz HDMI cables. Disable all video processing. Curtis says yes. Don't know what he's saying yes to. Probably to Drop Zone. So he's using a 48 gigahertz cable.
There's a lot of variables in this. HDMI is a pain in the ass to troubleshoot. There's been a lot of AVRs and pre's that still have video issues. I've never tried the Onkyo. The Onkyo doesn't come up a lot when we're talking about MadVR or when I'm doing troubleshooting calls for MadVR. Not that it's bad, it just doesn't come up very often. So I don't really have much experience with it, but there's a lot of variables that come in. Like if you tried other cables, are you using an active cable? Are you using passive cables? If you're using passive, how long is the cable? What specific cable is it? Are you using power injectors? Have you changed what settings are available in the AVR for HDMI? Is there an enhanced mode? What are your levels set to? What is your bit depth set to if you have control over that? What's your source? What's the display? There's so many different things that have to be considered here that it's just a pain. So I would start by my unsolicited advice. Start by limiting the signal chain as much as possible. So take the AVR out of the equation. And then run the source to the display. Does that work? If it does, bring the AVR back in, but note what cables you're using, right? So now, are you adding complexity? Have you added an optical cable? Can you shorten the distance and run two passives as long as they're under 4 meters? Are they both 48 gigabits per second? And then just continue down that troubleshooting line. But you can really only change one thing at a time before you make sure that it works. Otherwise, you're just throwing darts at the dartboard in the dark. And that's not a great way to do it.
I will even point out that it can be, if you're using a PC, it can even be your video driver, which is another stupid layer. Because last time I hooked my PC up, something with the NVIDIA driver was goofing up on my 3080, and it was like cutting out every 15 seconds. That hasn't been a tradition. And I tried a second cable, exactly like you're talking as troubleshooting stuff, and they were both doing it. So it had to be driver related. I just said, screw it, I'm not using that right now, and go back to it later.
Well, there you can add complexity because you've got your bit depth, your chroma, your frame rate. Like some displays will only support 119.xxx instead of 120. There's all different kinds of things that come into this. If the display blacks in and out, it's probably a lock-on or bandwidth issue where some device, whether it be cable or the device, isn't maintaining that bandwidth or attenuation properly. Could be voltage.
So I've noticed with the so I've got a Marantz AV7706 processor. No problems with HDMI. Swap it out for the Anthem AVM70, and I get what he's talking about. Sometimes it'll just kind of dip out and come back up, and dip out and come back up, and it's like, come on, man.
It's not bad handshaking. It's the inability of something to send the correct voltage. So the display is getting too hot or too cool of a voltage, or the bandwidth isn't being dealt with appropriately. So you've already established the handshake, right? Unless it's renegotiating every time. But a lot of times the flashing, it's already established the handshake, because this handshake is what defines, you know, hey, I'm sending this. Do you support this? And they go through and this is what you need to change to. So they're all in the correct modes. Once that's been established, that takes several seconds a lot of times. If you're just flashing, that's already taken place, and it's probably a bandwidth or attenuation issue.
Yeah. It's a pain, man. I hope you can get it figured out for sure. Nicholas says, update on Ryan's room. So what's the latest, greatest, man? You got the paint done?
The paint's done.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm going to do on the ceiling. I don't know that I'm... Thanks, Siri. I don't know that I'm fully happy with how the ceiling turned out. Okay. We'll see. I can always add things later, but it's coming.
You were saying you're going to be working on flooring soon. That started? Flooring?
So the floor started. We're not fully happy with it. They had some issues when they were putting it into the experience center where with the sprayer, it like globbed a little bit. So there were like these dots that you could see in one part, and then they fixed it, and then it was nice. So then they had to come back in and resand it and do it again. But when they sanded it, there was coloration issues, so it wasn't consistent. So then they had to do it again. And then that time, they sealed it with dust underneath it. So that wasn't great. So now they're doing it again. And hopefully this time we'll be done. Because I need to move the 50 forward down. But I got to start moving stuff because off of China. So I'm going to the Trinov showroom grand opening in Connecticut, the middle end of May. And then Maurizio is coming back with me to install the room. So we got to get this stuff, like the speakers and things, moved down and in their general positions before he gets here. And then I need to run electrical and start thinking about speaker wires and stuff like that. So I need it done. Supposedly, hopefully it'll be done tomorrow. And then we'll continue, but hopefully it'll be done because it's been a 2 or 3 week debacle.
Yeah. Hopefully you get it.
Trying to think if there's anything other updates. No, I don't really have any other updates. That's about it for now.
Okay. So Tiki Time, does anyone know someone who has used Smart motorized smart curtain rods for black bar masking on a 235 16x9? A YouTuber from Canada made one for $550. All materials. The price is right. Anybody ever used one of those? I've never heard of one.
No, I'm Googling it right now. I never heard of it either.
Kind of like sounds like a DIY using
it's just a motorized.
Motorized.
So what he's doing is he's taking a non-motorized like blinds or curtain rod adapter and making it motorized. So you would put them in like a sliding door and then make your curtains motorized. So you could put them on an automation system. He's doing the same thing. So I don't know why that wouldn't potentially work. Why wouldn't you just do like a automated roller shade thing instead?
Yeah. Assumably he's doing a mask left and right.
He's doing constant height. He's doing constant height. That's what he's doing.
So, I mean, I Googled this. I don't know anything about it. It looks like it hangs from the top. So how do you address, if you're hanging a curtain, it's not going to be straight up and down typically without some touch. Like, if, you know what I'm saying? If you're moving it over 2 foot and stopping, it may or may not hang exactly on line with your screen.
Yeah, but I mean, for $500 when you're trying to do a fully automated screen, it's probably going to be a sense of what's good enough to a sense.
No, I haven't heard anyone doing that. Well, it's clever. I mean, see how it works, I guess.
See, I'm seeing some like there are Zimmy Smart roller shades. So I wonder if he's talking about a shade or if it actually is a curtain rod.
Well, the
Like-
roller shade, you would do constant width masking.
Does he say constant height?
No, he doesn't specify one way or the other. But if you did a roller shade, you would only be able to do it from the top.
So the way I have the Seymour system, which I love that masking system, and I think the way it's set up is only the top one is motorized, but then there's like a cable and pulley that connects it to the lower one, so that one drives the other, one active, one passive. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I haven't completely disassembled it to figure it out, but it's not super fancy.
Does yours stop reliably in the memorized location, or do you have to
it does
fix it from time to time?
Yeah, the thing I don't like about it, so at the 16:9 and 235 settings, it's all the way open and all the way closed, basically. What I can't do is a middle position.
Like a 2.0?
Yeah. And, Evan from Seymour, it's been a project he's been working on for a few years, but they've had just different technical delays and other priorities. So I would love to be able to have something where you could program in all the whatever aspect ratios you want and have it stop at all of those, or be able to receive a signal, ideally receive a signal from Kaleidoscape or MadVR, and then have it automatically mask to whatever it needs to be. That would be great, because it's what I do is you just have to do the remote and play the hit it up or down and then click the button at just the right time. It's not that hard, but sometimes you chase it a little bit. But
Brian, is there any kind of metadata in the video format that would have like the aspect ratio?
I know Kaleidoscape does, because it sends it.
I think they have to do that. They have to do MadVR detects it, so we see the black bars. The movie, I don't know how it does the transitions, because usually you're just in a 16:9 container, right? The movie is shown, it's like in a 16:9 container because you have black bars top and bottom, and then the movie is whatever aspect ratio it's going to be.
Right.
So some, but not all, because there's no standard on that, as far as I know.
I'm pretty sure that the Kaleidoscape will send that as an output.
But the Kaleidoscape, a lot of the Kaleidoscape stuff is done by them. I don't think that's provided by the studios.
Yeah, it could be. But I think they'll send that out as metadata. Now, I know MadVR I'm pretty sure MadVR picks up on it. It does display it if you go to the info screen. And
yes, but a lot of times that's based on detection,
not flagging.
It's not in the actual
I don't know. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Either way, it would be cool if it would automate it.
Let's see. Rick's got a question. It says, my projector wall measures 18 width, 11.5 high. What screen ratio should I go for? I love this question. Good old debate here. So I don't want TV shows bigger than movies, but 16:9 is cheaper to deal with changing ratios. Can't afford MadVR right now. So no video processor, 18-foot wide, almost 12-foot ceilings. He's got a pretty big wall.
It's a big wall.
So would you go with 16:9? Would you go with scope?
What is it? I don't want
TV
shows
bigger
than
movies. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you,
if you have a 16:9, your TV shows are bigger than movies because you got the black bars. But if you do a cinema scope, then you don't. Then the movies are bigger than TV because you're over zoomed when you're in cinema scope group. So that's what he's saying. I mean, you said your choice right there in the thing. It sounds like you want a cinema scope if you don't want your TV shows bigger than your movies.
I'm still confused.
See, to me, it kind of, no matter if you're dealing with black bars, they're either horizontal or vertical. So for me, I would rather have horizontal black bars just because that's more what I'm used to. But I don't like that either. So I have masking and it solves the problem and I don't have to compromise.
You got a cinema scope screen.
I have a 16:9 that will mask down to CinemaScope.
So he masks top and bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you ever masking left and right?
I don't. I'm saying if you were to go with a 16 or a 235 and play 16:9 content,
Right.
you're going
Mhm.
to end up
Black
with the
bars
pillar
on left.
box.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's like no matter which screen you go with, there's always going to be black bars sometimes, unless you have a masking solution or a NV to do, stretching.
Or you're zooming in and using lens.
Or
mode.
you're zooming. Yeah, I guess you're zooming.
So there's definitely some ways around it.
I forgot about zooming.
So I looked at it from because that was a big question for me when I was building my theater room. Which format do I want to go with? And I chose the Cinescope for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't want just a bigger TV. I didn't want just because everybody's got a 16:9 TV in the living room. So I didn't want people to go from, walk into my theater and go, oh, that's just a big TV. I wanted a totally different feel, a different vibe. And part of that different vibe is having this massively wide, extremely immersive image CinemaScope. The other reason why I went with that is the vast majority of the content that I watch in there, I knew was going to be movies, and most of those are in a wider format. So I didn't want to sacrifice that and go with a 16:9, size or aspect.
So what I would do, and it is what I'm doing, is I would put the biggest screen you can possibly fit, and then buy manual masking panels. Then you're flexible. Then you can choose what you want to do, and then use the masking panels to make it a CinemaScope screen if you want to. It's up to you. But if you go to CinemaScope, you're now restricted, and you've cut off the top and bottom of your screen. So if you in the future decide that you want, I'm watching sports and I want the Super Bowl to be as absolutely big as possible. Well, if you have CinemaScope, you're restricted
by the height. Yeah.
But if you do a 16:9 or 2.0 screen and then do manual masking panels, you can do both if you want to. You have in full flexibility to choose what you want to do. You can leave it as a CinemaScope screen. You can pull them off and do something else. It's your choice. I don't like restricting myself.
Okay, so here's another thing, playing devil's advocate on that one. So let's say you buy this massive 16:9 screen. So now every time you want to use that fancy manual masking, you got to get a ladder or step stool, put those jokers up on the top.
Yeah, you do.
Plus it's electric.
But if you do a CinemaScope screen, you don't have that choice. I'm simply saying that if he can leave them on, but if he wants to take them off for an event, you absolutely can.
I love this comment. It's a theater, not a sports bar.
Well,
there's a lot of people that do watch sports. I've got a buddy of mine that he went with a 16:9 absolutely because of that. Because
if you're not watching sports and stuff on your enormous screen,
can y'all see that?
Well,
that's how much sports I watch.
Yeah, but if you watch sports at all in your home, why would I watch sports? Like if I'm watching Formula 1 or football, why am I going to watch that on my OLED in my living room when I can go to my theater, kick back, and have it enormous? Like I don't buy that. The theater should be utilized for any video or home theater experience, regardless of what the actual content is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I game in mine,
Gaming works best on 16:9, don't you think, Michael? Like if you had your druthers there, if you had unlimited ceiling height.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing: it's going to be 16:9 in my room anyway, but it's still a massive stinking 16:9 image.
Yeah, I mean, you're maybe not a ceiling height limited as I am. I am totally limited by my ceiling height. It's probably like 7.5 feet tall, basically.
Same.
So I can't do it. I did CinemaScope because I wanted the biggest screen I could have in here, and a 16:9 would have been a smaller screen, right? Because it would have been taller, and wouldn't have fit.
Here's another thing to consider, and the reason why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it is my screen is almost floor to ceiling. Like I'm 8 inches, I think. Not even. I'm like the screen is technically all the way to the floor and all the way to the ceiling. It's vastly simplified because I'm doing an acoustically transparent front screen, the construction of my front wall, because the screen is my wall. And then the masking panels are the differentiator from the wall, the ceiling, and the floor. So now I just have a frame with a center brace, and that's it. There's no other construction. I just have to have a mounting point for the screen to mount to, and I'm done. There's
Yeah.
nothing else. I don't have to worry about creating any panels, creating any aesthetics. The masking panels are my aesthetics, and then they're acoustically transparent, so I'm done. The whole thing.
And I'm with what you're saying, Jonathan. If you're height limited, you just go as wide as possible, or I would go as wide as you can. But if you have the headroom or the vertical room too, then I go as wide and as tall as you can, and mask down what you don't need.
So what about this? What about this thought?
Right.
Scott says if the screen is too tall, then you'll have eye fatigue. It's going to be kind of weird because you got, we know that we have like a horizontal viewing angle, but you also have a vertical viewing angle. And can that be too big to where
All of us have
Just
bigger
zoom
than
in.
THX spec recommends, I think, in
Mhm.
this group, right?
what's that?
When you go strictly by the stats, I think everybody in this group
that's
has bigger
terrible.
than what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that thing's terrible. Yeah, it's so outdated.
I mean, I'm going to be 10 feet on a 160-inch screen.
Mm-hmm.
And as Youthman has said on many podcasts before, he's never met anyone who said, "I wish I went with a smaller screen."
No.
Like, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I haven't either.
It's hard, man. It honestly, that question is so. I don't think there isn't like a
It's
hard
subjective.
if this and this. You got to figure out what works best for you, especially if you get an opportunity to see different aspect ratios and different configurations. If you can find somebody in your area that's got a 16:9 screen, find somebody that's got a CinemaScope screen, and then just sit down and watch some content. See what you like.
Ryan, since your front wall is your screen, which I love that concept, how do you open it, or how do you get access behind the screen? Does it pivot or hinge or swing, or how
I
does
have
that
a way
work?
around behind it. I
It's
go
a
under my
secret-
stairs.
A secret entrance.
I thought
Yeah.
you could like
So
teleport
it's
to-
permanently installed, and then you have like an access tunnel.
Yes.
Okay, see, that's even better.
Yeah.
It's gonna be dope, man. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see it. It's gonna be sweet. Erod
Yeah.
says he's got a question above. Appreciate the super chat. Let me find.
I will point out in the last conversation one thing, and we've talked about this on previous streams, so this isn't news. But the only times that a screen can be too big is the shaky cam stuff. I think that can be a little bit too much when you run into a shaky cam movie, like the Bourne movies and stuff. And I do think you kind of visually adjust to a larger screen over the course of time. Like it might feel a little too big at first, but as you sit in front of it more, you get used to it, and it's not as bothersome. But like on my screen size, when I first got it, the shaky cam stuff bothered me, and it doesn't anymore. So that's kind of my basis for that. But it took a while for that to kind of calm down.
Well, and there's a guy here local, Vern. He lives about a mile from me. He has a Cinerama screen, so it's a curved screen,
Interesting.
but you sit about 8 feet away from I think it's a 12-foot wide screen. I mean, it like wraps around you. And at first you're like, well, I don't know about this, but it's actually pretty cool. The only thing that sucks is there's not very much content for it that like really works. Everything else will look kind of stretched.
Erod says, I have a 14:19 room with 12-foot ceilings, 9.4.6 configuration. Room is well treated with absorption and diffusion. He also has absorption behind a projection screen, but nothing on the ceiling. Is there any benefit of treating that ceiling?
Is it carpet?
How important is that?
Does he have carpet?
Erod, do you have carpet in your room? Is it concrete, hardwood floors? What do you got there?
You do run some danger of over treating the room, but it depends on how much treatment you have on the sidewalls.
Mm-hmm.
I
didn't hear any difference when I installed the clouds. I've got, I think, 5 on the ceiling. I mean, I didn't notice it. I think I even took measurements. You can go back and look at. If you search for GIK Youthman,
Are they diffusion?
Absorption.
Absorption.
Yeah, so I didn't see any difference in the frequency response. I don't think it wasn't. If it was very minor. So, and I think that it's going to be dependent on the room. Like Ryan said, what are the other characteristics of the room? I've got carpet on the bottom. I was trying to see.
So a lot of professional designers are starting to move away from carpet. They're doing hard floors with rugs because it provides more control. So if you just carpet the floor, right?
Mhm.
It's a universal high frequency absorber. Like that's what it's going to do.
Sure.
So you have no control because I could, but you're not going to. I'm not going to go in there with a box cutter and just start cutting out sections of my carpet to fix any potential high frequency issues or high frequency roll offs if I need to address that. With rugs, I can do that and then I can treat the ceiling. So it all depends on the situation that you're trying to go for. If you don't have a lot on the wall and you have some first reflection points on the ceiling, your speakers are symmetrical dispersion, vertical and horizontal, you could potentially benefit. A lot of times people put more diffusion than absorption on the ceiling because of the dispersion patterns from the speakers, but it's pretty room dependent on what you're trying to do. And if you ask 4 different acoustic designers, you're going to get 4 different answers.
Or even just 4 different enthusiasts for that
Yeah.
matter. Remember, Ivan was on here a couple weeks ago or last week or whatever it was, and he was talking about how much his ceiling panels mattered. Like he was saying he really thought that was a big deal. And Michael's saying in his room he didn't really notice much difference. So yeah.
And part of that is, I mean, we all know our brains can tell us we see and hear things that may or may not be there. I just didn't, in my brain, I didn't really hear anything.
It's really hard to tell unless somebody's sitting there taking the panel in and out to try and figure out if it's actually doing something, or you have definitive like REW measurements and looking at your decay times and stuff to try and figure out what's going on.
Now, the other thing too is I've got 10-foot ceilings. Maybe somebody that has 8-foot ceilings or 7.5 might make more of a difference. I don't know. Good questions there. Rick says my projector wall. Did I do that one? Yes.
We did that one.
All right.
So back to your real quick before we move on to something else.
Okay.
Rusty, your friend with the curved screen, and you said that he doesn't have a lot of content. Why doesn't he use an Envy?
Probably budget. He does use MadVR PC. He knows that very well, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. PC version doesn't do nonlinear stretch, does it?
Well, not even nonlinear stretch. The Envy, even the Gen 1s, will do geometric correction. So for his curved screen, he can make any content fit it and potentially use the entire screen all the time.
Yeah.
Is that any aspect of curve, like the curvature? Like you can put in your number you have or whatever, 1500 R.
It's all variable. It's all variable. So you're able to change how Envy is dealing with and looking at the screen by manipulating where the screen goes using its grid that it has. So theoretically it could use for anything, and then it pre-distorts the image. So when it comes out of the projector and reflects back to you, it looks correct. But it also does things when you're talking about for like providing a metric, it does that for anamorphic lenses. So you apply a stretch factor and it's able to potentially remove all or most of the barrel distortion from an anamorphic lens.
And he is using some anamorphic lens. I can't remember what it is. Something in
Anamorph?
No, it was something more like unique that I'm not familiar with. So here's a related question. How much stretch do you like? For me, I can do like 2.0 I can go bigger, or like 16.9 or 2.35, but I cannot take a 2.35 to 16.9 or 16.9 to 2.35. It starts to look weird. Like I'm like a half step.
Yeah. So what we've noticed in our recommendation actually showcase it. For anybody that doesn't know, I also work for MWAVE. That's why I say I and we. The Envy will do stretch in any direction that you want it to, using expansion and compression different ways depending on how you're stretching. And it'll actually do simultaneously for vertical and horizontal each way. It just how it does that is dependent on which way you're trying to manipulate the image. So we've noticed that people have a tendency to notice people getting too tall, like their foreheads get really tall, than we do if they get too fat, which is probably why I don't notice myself putting on weight. So you can stretch easier this way than you can this way. So taking 2.35 to 16:9, or to 16:9, you'll notice way easier than taking 16:9 to 2.35. So our recommendation if you're taking 235 to 16:9, is only to recover, like you said, about half of your black bar. Because if you go more than that, the foreheads start getting really tall, and it's very easy to notice, especially because that manipulation, because you're stretching vertically, it's all the way across the horizontal. So you see it in the middle, and that's where you're focusing. Whereas when you're stretching this way, it's all happening out here. So you're outside of your periphery, and there's some weird stuff that happens in your periphery anyway, and you have a lot less potential to notice.
Yeah. But I will say that it does such a good job on, as long as you don't go crazy.
Yeah.
If you're just going like 2.0 to 2.35, I don't even know if it's in, because I've got it set up to where it just automatically activates. I can't tell if it's on or off. I have to like actually go into the menu and see if it's in, activated currently.
It's not undefeatable, but it does a pretty good job.
Where
you just can't go crazy.
Where I see it big time is, and where I notice it the most is when, let's say I'm in the Apple TV and it's literally stretching all the
you're going to notice it more, especially in static imagery. And when you have geometric shapes that like this should be a rectangle, and you have one right next to it that should be the same size, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah, it's super easy to notice. You'll also notice potentially in panning effects when things are moving this way, and you'll notice like if there's an object here and it goes from here to here to here to here, you can see it potentially change. But then in all the demos that I've done, people are like, oh, did you see that? And then they immediately forget about it because we're dumber than we think we are, and we don't remember this stuff. So it's all about immersion and what level of compromise you're willing to deal with in order to increase said immersion.
Ashwin says, do DACs really make a difference if I have high-end processor like an AV10?
100%.
Why are you trolling, man? Jonathan, have a great night, brother.
Yeah, I'll see you guys. Thanks. Good
night. As long as it's a good DAC, no. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have no experience with like doing any kind of comparisons with DACs. So
I think as long as it's a good DAC and it's not horrific, no, you're fine.
Yeah. Probably most people wouldn't be able to, like blind comparison, they may not be able to tell the difference in most.
Yeah. AV10's got a good DAC.
Big Jack, but it's got a good DAC. All right, let's see if we can crank out some more questions here. Because like I said, we're going to keep this a little bit shorter tonight. Nicholas question, wide versus narrow dispersion speakers, pros and cons for home theater. Also opinions on mixing narrow mains with wide surrounds and height or wide heights.
I think technically for home theater, you want a wider dispersion speaker. It's personal preference. There's a recommendation, but it's going to come down to what you like more. Like I went from a super narrow dispersion, 30 degrees horizontal, 0 in the vertical speaker, to now going to roughly 90 for most of the stuff horizontally, and the Black Swans are not as much in the vertical, but it's personal preference and whatever you're trying to do.
And with yours, that won't matter because you only have one row of seating, so you only have to cover that row.
No compromise.
So my whole thought process on this got turned on its head. I had previously thought more narrow would be like 60 degrees would be like kind of the sweet spot. And for reasons less reflections off the walls and it more locatable, right? So it's less where you could hear where something was coming from. That was my theory anyways. Then I go to Jonathan's house and it's like 160 degree dispersion and it sounds amazing. I was like, well, maybe I need to start over because it sounds so good. I don't know if I think they both sound good. And so did Ryan's. I've heard his too, and it's narrow. You just have to make sure you're in the sweet spot.
Right in the middle.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So I guess that would be one big pro for the wide dispersion is that you get seems like seat to seat, you get a more consistent.
Well, and your channels blend together more. But MW brings up a good point. If you're sitting really far away, everything can be in the potentially different position. It's just it's subjective. There's objectivity that's going to come into it. It depends on a lot of variables, but usually your 80 to 80, 90, 90 is what's going to be recommended. But you can deviate from that and still have a really good experience.
Cool. Ali says, building a dedicated home theater room with the dimensions of 12 by 14 by 7, wired it for a 7.2.6 with the rear and front heights being above the left and right channels and the middle heights in wall above the couch. Is that bad?
Small room.
12 by 14. So that's, yeah, it's smaller than mine.
The hard thing about having the heights above the left and right is that you have low ceilings. So the channel separation between those is going to be rough.
Yeah.
Have you drywalled this room yet? If not, I would move them above your seat. I wouldn't move them. I would run more. And I would run your front left and right tops and your rear left and right tops in the positions that Dolby says to, but leave your front and rear heights, because if you want to use them later or the spec changes, you're already going to have wire there.
Gotcha.
Don't feel bad about running it, but if you can, I would
put the wire there, right?
I would put the tops where they need to go.
Okay, I guess this is part of it. Should I be worried about putting the middle heights above the couch on a 7-foot wall?
Should I be worried putting middle heights above the couch?
What is it?
No.
It's like more than one height though. Middle heights above the couch.
No. That's where they're supposed to be.
Does he have room behind him? I'm assuming you've got room behind you and that's where you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The middle should be over the couch if you're doing 6. If you're doing 4, it's 2 in front, 2 rear. And if you're doing 2, it's typically slightly ahead of the couch. So if you're doing 6, you'd want 2 ahead, 2 over, 2 behind.
I just don't know if his room's big enough for that. For 6.
I would do 4.
Yeah.
But he's already got the 2 overhead, so you might as well do the other ones. Okay, let's back up here. It depends on his speaker. Because if his left and rights and his rears are low enough and he's already got the fronts, I forgot the room was really small. So if they're low enough, it could potentially work. The room's not very big.
Right.
So just make sure. I'd say make sure. I don't even know that I would necessarily worry about that. You'd have to play with it, utilizing the front and rears as heights or as tops, because technically they're different. The height speakers are, I guess the tops qualifies heights, but how I think of them is your heights are like above your left and your right, and your rear left and right typically, and then your tops are the ones that are in the ceiling overhead, is how I usually think of it. So you could try it either way. That may work, because I forgot the room was not enormous.
You guys familiar with Leah amps? It says
Yes.
single rack space, 4 channel by 350 watts. Is that worth it for home theater?
Those are not cheap amps though.
They expensive?
Yeah, and they've got a lot of like DSP capability built into them that I don't know that you're really going to utilize. They're mainly, I've seen them used for distributed audio.
This looks like pro audio stuff.
They're not cheap.
$7,200 for a 4-channel amplifier.
I wouldn't do that.
These look like pro audio stuff. They're like rack mounted.
They're cool, and they've got a lot of capability. Just, I think there's better options, like Buckeye, if you're in the US.
4-channel
or
3.
If you're
for be
price wise,
no, like wattage.
It depends on what ohms that 4-channel at 350 watts is.
Okay.
So probably the NC502, which will be, what is that?
Yeah, Van Williams says go with the Buckeye 350 by 6.
Yeah, that's what I would
says
do.
love my Buckeye amps.
So the 502s are 500 watts at 8 ohm.
Yeah, that's plenty.
I'm sorry, 500 watts at 4 ohm, 350 at 8 ohm.
Yeah, that's plenty. And then if you need tons of channels and you're going Storm or Trenoff, look at like the Amplitude 16. Those amps are really good. And then they have these super sweet DB connectors that you don't even have to run XLR from the Amp 16 to the Trenoff. It's just one wire, which is awesome.
It's really nice.
It's
That's one of those things I'm like, why is this a new thing? Like, why couldn't we have been doing this the whole time?
I don't know. I don't know. It is super nice.
Ross says, Coke Zero? Ugh, you savage.
I like Coke. Well, the zero sugar, I
Yeah,
like
the same
it.
thing. I got the
think it's
caffeine free too.
Yeah, I like it.
I have my kidney stone plunger right here. It's water with lemon.
Cheers.
I'm gonna hit this one real quick. Ryan, I don't think you're running an Epson LS12000. Not sure
When
where
did you
got
see
one,
that?
Ryan. Yeah.
I'm running a Christie Griffin. A little bit of a departure from an
Yeah.
Slightly.
LS12000. Just they're both.
I don't know.
Can
We'll
come in
probably
white
pick the
and black.
12,000 in the blind test.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I mean, the Griffin's what, 32,000 lumens?
I can't wait to
So-
see your setup.
Are you gonna run it wide open though?
It's not technically gonna be wide open because it's got a lens mod on it, and I'll probably lose half of that. But I'm probably going to be taking somewhere between 10 and 15,000 to one native contrast at 17,000 lumens, which is insanity.
And a 1.0 gain screen? Or are you doing?
For now, potentially around there, and then eventually I need to go negative. My camera locked up.
Yeah, see that? I think people are gonna have to bring like sunscreen when they're watching yours.
Ideally, I want to be at about 300 nits,
That's gonna be insane.
which is going to be
You're gonna
very
melt
bright.
down
See,
to
and
the-
I'm just for reference, like we were watching was it Ahsoka? And my screen's like 125 nits, I believe. And you'd be in like a dark scene, and all of a sudden you go outside, and my eyes, I'm like blinded just from 125. So I can't imagine what that would
I
be
mean,
like. on
my
300.
NZ9 was hitting 150, 160,
You must have had
so-
a smaller screen or something.
135.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
throw distance was like 12 feet. So yeah, I want to be capable of hitting, and I'm not going to have this problem hitting like 300 nits, I think.
Mhm.
Well,
Sassy
now you
Gam-
can use the negative gain.
Mhm.
Now that you've got all that, then so your
There-
blacks will be super black.
There's some cool options that you can do in order to bring back even some more of that perceived contrast. There was a screen that we're waiting on that it won't be ready for MWAVE, unfortunately, but there's some cool stuff coming.
Nice, in the works. Is 300 nits supposed to be part of the new Cedia level 5 spec?
With RP 23,
23?
I think it's still in there. 300 nits for level 4, I think is the top level capability. The problem that a lot of projectors run into historically is that you run into native contrast problems when you start pushing brightnesses that high.
Yeah.
So if you look at the standard for Barco and for Christie, even when you start getting into excluding the Eclipse, because it's kind of an enigma on its own. But if you're looking at the Nerthus or the Griffin, so Barco's top dog and Griffin below the Eclipse, you're looking at 5,000 to 5,500 to 1 native contrast for those projectors. So that in comparison to something like an NZ9, which is typically 15,000 to 1 full open, it's not doing the same thing. The ANSI contrast, on the other hand, for those projectors unmodded is insane, right? You're looking at 800 to 1,000 to 1 ANSI contrast, whereas I think the NZ9's like 300 or 400 maybe. So I wouldn't have been comfortable doing the Griffin unless I got a modified lens. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened.
Wow, man. There was something thought I saw. Maybe I was going to ask a question. I don't remember what it was. I drew a blank. Anyway, Dave K says Cinema 40 versus a 4800H. Any benefit in spending the extra grand?
No.
Next question.
Unless you really want to see the Cinema 40's aesthetic. To some people, that's worth it.
Cool.
I'll talk about one story with the Marantz. Have we talked about Bob's story with the Marantz and the Room EQ comparison last year?
I don't think so.
So Bob was running the Room EQ experience last year. Huge shout out to Bob because he does a ton of work for MWAVE. And he was trying to see if people could tell the difference between the distortion chip and native, right? Because they have a chip in there that you can activate that adds a coloration. It's why a lot of people supposedly like the Marantz. And they were cycling it on and off. And he was having told people, raise your hand when you think I've turned it on. And people were really tentative about doing this. Like nobody was raising their hand and he was cycling it on and off. And then after a period of time, one person raised their hand. And then it was kind of, hey, I saw one person raise their hand, so I'll raise my hand. And then before you know it, people were raising their hand all the time. And after a while, he stopped the test and he goes, well, what do you guys think? And he said, they are like, yeah, I could absolutely tell, especially at the end. And then Bob said, well, that's funny because I haven't even been paying attention. And I've been back here having a conversation with somebody for almost the entire time of this test and nothing was changing. Yeah. Like he wasn't even turning it on or off. So people were perceiving that there should be a change. So their brain made one and they thought, oh, well, that guy thinks he heard something. So maybe I have. And the psychology behind the whole thing just ran rampant and everything else is history. So is there potentially a measurable effect? Yeah. Can you hear it?
Probably
no.
not.
So yeah, I like the 4800. I would save the money and put it into acoustic treatments or more subs or something else.
Buy for features.
Yep.
Sasakan, would stereo integrity HST 18 driver be on par with the JTR 18 driver? So 2 quality subwoofers.
I don't know.
HST 18. He's even got different ones too, right?
That JTR driver is an animal. Mm-hmm. But so is the SI.
I'd say dollar for dollar, it's probably on par, but it's not the JTR.
Yeah.
But if from a cost value standpoint.
But the thing that I don't see brought up a lot of times is the DSP that Jeff does in his amps, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have to do all that on your own. The amp that you're potentially getting for that stereo integrity is not going to be on par unless you're buying speaker power. So there's a lot of things that I think people don't consider when they're doing these comparisons. So yes,
the
driver, maybe. I've never done a head-to-head comparison with it. But there's more to this equation than just thinking about the driver that I would encourage you to think about.
Okay.
That's the more expensive one. That's not the one I was thinking of. I think I was thinking of the HT18.
Yeah, the HST18 is about $1,000 driver. So
I'm not sure on that
one. Justin, are 20-year-old speakers worth considering for home theater? I'm considering getting some to save money. I answered him in the chat. I figured I'd go ahead and say it here. I was running 40-year-old speakers. I enjoyed them for home theater. Absolutely. My advice, go listen to them. If you like the way they sound, they perform well, enjoy them, save some money. If you listen to them, they sound like garbage. Well, they either might not have been good speakers to begin with, or they might have been just taking a toll. And you just got to, on that old of speakers, just look for things like, dry rotting around the cones, like the woofers. Sometimes that'll happen. But other than that, man,
I would add too is that I don't feel like you have to go 20 years old to save money. Like you can probably get 5-year-old speakers for the same price. They depreciate pretty quick.
I'm guessing he found some that are 20 years old and he's wondering, hey, should I even worry about this? you know, because they're so old.
Try and find if you're trying to find older speakers, try and find a speaker that's maybe one generation removed from the current generation, because that's usually where the major amount of the depreciation happens. And then after that, there's not a lot that happens. They kind of sit at that value for potentially forever. So that's where I would be, is like, try and find a speaker maybe that just got a facelift and they've got an older version that has depreciated because of that. And that'd be great. Speaker technology really hasn't changed a lot.
Yeah.
There's been some improvements in design, in crossovers and different things, but there hasn't been a ton of changes.
Yeah, I replaced my capacitors. I found a not certified, what would they call it? Like an authorized repair facility for clips. He was willing to sell me the capacitors, and I had a friend of mine replace the capacitors for me.
You know, MW does bring up a good
They
point.
can go try.
That the thing that you do want to consider is that things are going to wear out, right? That things are going to, humidity, temperature, conditions, they all wreak havoc on materials. So if you've got like a soft dome tweeter, it may be losing its malleability. I mean, there's potential. I would encourage you, as Michael said at the very beginning, go listen to him. I had a guy come over to listen to some speakers today. I won't tell you what speakers he was listening to, because I don't think it's not.
I will. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would. I was not going to let you. Not that I could do anything, but
like,
it's not.
Button?
It's not the place of this podcast to do that. I think he was shocked. He didn't think there would be a difference, but it was plain as day. So I encourage you to listen to them if possible before you buy them. If they're so cheap that you can just buy them and then listen to them at your house, great. But I encourage you, and this goes for everybody, listen before you buy, right? Make sure if you're going to spend your money on something, especially speakers, that you listen before you buy them, because even if they're measured, like their frequency response is both great, they can sound vastly different. Yeah, you could potentially measure the things that are making them sound different, but just looking at a frequency response, which is what a lot of people look at, they can sound very different. So it's very important that you listen before you buy, because it will have a subjective impact on your buying decision and your enjoyment.
And you know, the best place you can do that is an awesome event called MWAVE.
Oh, I heard that was a decent place to go.
Great segue.
Heck yeah, dude. We're gonna have lots of brands
Thanks,
there.
Linus.
Stereo Integrity. We have RTJ there. You're gonna be able to hear who else. Ascendo is gonna be there. RBH is gonna be there. Kincaid is gonna be bringing a bunch of different brands. I think they're bringing Focal, Clips. SVS is gonna be there. Martin Logan's gonna be there. What are other ones? Grimani's going to be there. So lots of different speakers you get a chance to hear. So we'd love to have you guys come out, man. We're going to have a blast.
That vendor list is a lot bigger than it was last year.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's crazy, man. Every year it just gets bigger and bigger. I mean, some of these.
I don't really want to get bigger than this, though. I think this is where I want to stay.
It's going to be hard to, for sure. So look at this. This right here, 2203 is going to be a full Dolby Atmos room. Let's see. RBH
2202
is no, this one isn't.
No, sorry, no. That's going to have 2-channel in it.
Correct. But I mean, I'm just saying like full Dolby Atmos.
So 2206, 2207, 2208.
Kincaid's going to have a full one?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. What's he putting in there?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
And then 2212 and 2214.
Ascendo, Absolute Ultimate AV, Grimani. So, dude, there's going to be so much this year. It's crazy. You guys got to come. Oh, here's the other thing. We haven't announced this yet, but we've got, I think there's 8 seminars that's going to be at the show. So lots and lots.
Maybe
lots
more.
Of value, man.
More.
Lots of value.
Maybe.
Tickets, man.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool. Evangeliste says he finally cleared his schedule for MWAVE. Enter promo code for tickets. There promo code. Also, home theater room not sold out. Yeah, there's plenty of home theater rooms that aren't sold out. So definitely check those out. You just go up to attend, go down to home theater, VIP home theater experiences. There's quite a few left over.
I
So
think
some of
there's
them have
4 that are sold out so far.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Yeah.
plenty that aren't.
And they're all incredible. I mean, you're not going to visit one and go, oh man, that stunk. These are great home theaters. They just all have different shapes, styles, different brands. So that would be another great option. Like if you're looking at a certain brand, maybe one of those home theater experiences has the brands that you're looking for. Maybe it's the projector, maybe it's the it's the size room that you're looking to build. Maybe it's the subwoofers or tactile response or whatever. So lots of great stuff. Getting the tickets now. Cool, man. We'll see you there. Is there going to be alcohol at MWAVE? You got to bring your own alcohol. Well, not like bring it, but we're not providing it. That's for sure.
I mean, you could have your own flask. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, I'm
Just
not
don't
sure
be
if
a jerk.
it's.
You start acting real goofy, man. I'm gonna have to pull you aside, but yeah, no, we won't be providing it. It's not be like an open bar. Now there's plenty of bars in Kansas City. So after hours, man, go hit it. Have fun. Just have a designated driver. Seminar on bass was cool. Yeah. We're going to have lots of cool stuff. Just some really, really great. I think you're really going to be pleased with the seminars this year. So lots and lots of education, lots of value there. All right, let's keep going. Got a few more questions we'll answer here. Let me pull this off. Stop screen. Cool. Looking to upgrade Buckeye amps using LCR. Ooh, what's an LCR? 1723S, 3 sides, wides, 1961. So these are Arndal speakers, monitors, 2 sides, 1961 monitors, 4 1723 heights as rears, 2 all Arundel. I don't know what that means, Arndal. So he wants to upgrade his Buckeye amps. I'm not sure what his question is, to be honest.
He's looking to upgrade to Buckeye amps, and would that? Yeah,
but
Buckeye would work with that fine.
And I don't know if but what I'm saying, I don't know if he's asking like what Buckeyes and to power that entire system.
NC 502, and then you'd be done.
NC 502. How many channels?
As many as he needs.
Oh, okay. So
they've got a 2, a 4, and an 8.
Okay. So you can do a combination of those. Awesome.
So a lot of people will say like, well, that's like overkill and you don't need that much. And I got 502s and I'm probably not using but 10% of their power. But I also change things up a lot and I'm moving things around. I don't know what I'm going to do in the future. So I just wanted as much future proofing as I can. And that gives me a lot of flexibility. And if you look at the price increase going from like the 252 to the 502, it's not a huge jump in price for, twice the power or over twice the power. So I would do the same thing.
But what is he gaining going from Purify to the NCX 500 from the NC 502? I mean, sure, the Purify and the NCX 500 technically measure better, but if the
I was just saying versus the
somebody
smaller.
brought up, it was a comment that
okay, I didn't see that.
This one here.
If your speakers don't need it and your noise floor isn't like ridiculously low, what are you gaining? I don't think really anything,
because that price goes up quite a bit.
Purifies are a lot more expensive.
A lot. Well, even the HyperX Encore X, they jump up a good bit.
They do, but they're more to compete with the Purify modules. They're the NC 502s. What the HyperX those modules bring to the table, it's pretty good. I mean, you're I think on ASR already well over 100 in Synad, and how much more do you need? Unless your noise floor is like 4. I mean, that's insanity, but you get the idea.
Yeah, the price from a 252 to a 502 it's pretty small jump, but it gives you some future proofing and headroom, even though you probably don't need it.
So here's 2 super quick questions I can answer. Don, is Gramani going to have a full Atmos system? Yes. So Gramani Systems, already talked to Anthony. He's excited, man. Actually, if you go to MidwestAVExperience.com, go to the brands page, click on Gramani's page, it shows you what he's bringing. So the different models. that he'll
Hey,
have in that.
TN
setup.
Bills fan, you just posted about our series.
Nope.
Perlisten is not going to be there, but I do have. This is getting into what only things I have left from last year. I have a bunch, not a bunch, but I have several S4Ss that would match perfectly with your S7T, so you wouldn't even have to go to the R series. That you could. They were previous demos at MWAVE that you should take from me,
Here you go.
please.
I'll drop his.
And that goes for anybody that needs stuff. I try and take care of people, but these need a home because they're taking up space in my warehouse.
Yeah, just shoot him an email. And Ryan's quick. I mean, normally he'll reply to you guys before I even have a chance to read the email. So
Try to.
He's pretty quick, man. So, where's Wisdom at the show? Yeah, be cool.
Oh,
I'd love to have him there.
it's you, Bill. Yeah, you need to get these S4Ss. You were at the show last year.
He's like, dude, that was mine. That's funny. You got Ryan's information. Give him a call. Let's see. Got my tickets. Thank you. Now looking for the VIP. Cool, man. Glad you're here, man. Yeah, Ryan sold out literally probably within the first, I don't even remember. It was like the first hour. Jonathan sold out super, super quick within like the first 5 hours. So a couple of them went really, really fast. So
Granted, I only have 6 seats.
kind of helps. But
Yeah.
still, though, you got probably the most unique. It's Mike, but you called me Bill several times.
Well, I'm looking at your TN Bills fan. That's where I got the bill from.
Tennessee Bill.
I know who you are then.
Hey guys, I'm
Rusty,
gonna
you gotta
check
run?
out. Yeah, I
Everybody-
gotta run. Take care.
See you,
All right, we
Rusty.
got a few more we're gonna hit real quick. We got these starred. Fall says I have a 65-inch TV, but it has a dirty screen effect at a brightness under 20%. It really bothers me. So my question is, do projectors have anything like dirty screen effect? I know they get blobs every once in a while. I haven't seen that in a
Yeah.
long time though, like dust blobs,
It happens. I've seen them.
a dirty screen effect.
I think it's just your TV.
Time to upgrade, maybe.
And are you talking about? No, I think it's just your TV. Time to upgrade.
Yeah, Don, just a little precursor on the seminars. So the seminars, we won't have any on Friday night, but the seminars will be Saturday and Sunday. Because Friday night's going to be such a short night anyway. We don't want to pull people away from that. So, all right. A couple more here. How do you deal with changing aspect ratios like dark night? So dark night flops back and forth very fast between like CinemaScope, 16:9, CinemaScope or IMAX. There really isn't there's only one good way, and that would be with a video processor, because you can't use electronic masking. It's not going to be quick enough. Plus it's going to be super distracting. So the only way to do that, other than just deal with it, or if you're not worried about the extra space, you could, like, say for instance, if you got a CinemaScope screen like I do, if you didn't have something like a MadVR, you could zoom in to fill your screen and then just use the internal masking. So it would basically literally crop off the top and the bottom if you're not worried about seeing that. To me, the IMAX doesn't change. Like, I don't go, whoa, that's amazing, because I've got an extra, 4 inches above and 4 inches below or whatever. So, but yeah,
Yep.
I mean, really, you only have one option. If you want to do it instantaneously, it needs to be done with a video processor.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that. So he says, hey, I like the hand raise. That's cool. It's very polite of you. So should the center and rear speakers, should they match the front speakers? Is it a problem if they're all 6 ohms but different brands? Great question. My recommendation has always been at least match up your, ideally, you want identical speakers in every location. That would be awesome. Most people can't do that. Having at least the same brand in the front 3, to me, is very, very ideal. I know for a long time I had 3 JTR speakers up front, but then I was running clip surrounds and clips in ceilings. It wasn't identical. It wasn't even the same brand. They didn't even have the same exact sound signature, but my brain enjoyed it. I still got a great experience out of that. So I think you can do that. Work towards, my recommendation would be eventually work towards at least having the same brand in all your speakers. But with every brand, sometimes even within that, they're going to have some differences. They're going to use different components, different materials, different tweeters sometimes. So like Martin Logan, you may have electrostats up front, but then you're using, if you're trying to use one of their Motion XT center channel, that's going to be a little weird. It's going to have quite a bit different sound to it. As far as all 6 ohms, that's no big deal. Just as long as most AVR should be able to handle 6 ohms, no problem. Ryan, any thoughts on that?
Nope. You
Great
covered it.
question. Drop Zone. I saw a YouTube video today with Ryan in it. I didn't realize that he was such a beast of a man. I was afraid of him before, but now I'm just terrified.
I have no idea.
Drop Zone, what video was that, man?
What video was that?
Was he being interviewed at a show or something?
Concerned.
That's hilarious, man.
Was it with Mad VR or something?
Let us know what video.
I'm not small.
Ryan, how tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". I'm 5'11". Yeah.
It has its pluses and minuses.
Steven says, is it important that I raise the height of my rear speakers higher than the height of the back of my theater chair?
Yes.
Ideally, yes, because that's going to block the sound. So I would absolutely bring your speakers up so that they at least clear the tops of your seat.
Something to consider, though, is do you always watch reclined? If you do, that's going to affect the
That'll
height
help,
position of your speaker.
Yeah, that'll definitely help.
But yeah, anything that you put in the way of the speaker is in the way of the speaker.
Yeah, you're just not going to hear it. It's not going to be.
You want to be able to draw a straight line, ideally, from the speaker to your ears without anything in the middle.
Last couple questions. Ali says, my dedicated room. We did this one, right? Nope. This is different. My dedicated room, 12 by 14 by 7. I want to use the KEF in walls alongside in ceilings for my middle heights.
Yep.
Oh, this was his earlier. Above the couch. Should I have any concerns? Want to end up? Okay. That was kind of the same question. So yeah. Claude. No, what?
He was asking specifically about KEF, though.
Okay, let me back up then. My bad. I was thinking it was kind of the same question.
So KEF,
let me find it.
I think they make good measuring speakers. They provide objective data.
Here you go.
The only issue that I ever have with them is a lot of their speakers, and a lot of brands have this issue. This is not limited to just KEF. They're going to have difficulty when you're really pushing to high volumes. So you're potentially could blow a UniQ driver, depending on what drivers these particular KEF are using. So that's really the main consideration. They're really symmetrical dispersion speakers typically because of how they do things with the coaxials. Those are the main things that I would consider. Ollie, depending on where you're located, you can reach out to me and I can try and guide you on what I think would be a good direction to go. Regardless if you buy something or not, it doesn't matter. It's more about just trying to get you to a point of what makes the most sense for you. So I do like KEF. One of my friends runs an all KEF theater and loves it, but he has had some issues with tweeters going pop. So hasn't since that.
His room's a little bit smaller, so he's not as worried.
I don't know that I would worry about that. KEF's good. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm not trying to talk you out of them. I'm just trying to provide a expectation, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, if you got a big room, you're trying to really crank them, might be into some issues.
Yeah, you're sitting closer.
Appreciate the $2 super chat. When does the sell list for MWAVE go live? So
I don't know that we're going to have one. We'll see. It may be more of you just contacting me based on what you're needing. And then I can try and see if there's anything that's going to be available. But I don't know that we're going to do a list. We'll see. there's pros and cons of that. You guys have easier time seeing what's available, but there's also some cons with it.
True. Last question of the night. He said he'll definitely reach out. Thanks for the clarity.
Yep.
Last question of the night. Claude says, question, any new projectors on the horizon that we should be aware of? So I haven't heard anything. I know we're looking at, what has it been, about 3 years from Sony? And because we had it at MWAVE, what would that have been, 2022? So 2022, 2023, 2024. So most of the time, about every 3 years, they introduce something. So hopefully we'll hear something soon. That'd be awesome.
Oh, there's something.
Uh-oh.
I just can't talk about it. But there's something. I'll just say that.
A little something, something.
Something.
All right, guys. $100 tickets. I don't know what that one is.
To do a raffle for a JTR RS1.
That
would be really cool, but there's some governmental things that come in with raffles and stuff like that. If you want to do the right way.
It's a little crazy. Yeah. But all right, guys. It's been a good show. Ryan, crank out your room.
Always a pleasure.
Lots of work.
I just want it to be done.
Yeah. A lot of work, man.
One day.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a great night. We'll catch you in the next stream.
See you guys later. Have a